How modern games engines degraded and who's to blame. This is a video from Radical Cap, and this is about Unreal Engine 5 has been around for many years. A lot of projects have been made on it, but developers still can't master it. They can master it. The problem is they don't want to change the default settings. Yeah, we have a video months back where we talk about this, and there's also a video going through this. I actually think it's this one. This right here, we've gone through it, we watched it, and this talks about the tech behind Unreal Engine and the default values that developers are using for the Unreal Engine 5 games. So developers is to blame, and even Epic Games is saying that, yeah, they don't do shit to optimize them. So, what this dude is talking about, I don't know. Let's check it out.
Let's remember the last time video games made crazy progress in graphics. It wasn't that long ago. A damn 21 years ago. I don't know how many of you played the first Far Cry, but when I played it for the first...
I remember. My PC couldn't handle this for shit. So I went to my cousin, watched him play it. Oh, what a golden gem. And then the movie came out and just... What the fuck?
First time, it just blew my mind.
Yeah.
It was the most beautiful game of its time. Even now, if I show you a real photo of a tropical island and a screenshot from this game, you will not be able to tell the difference. But the most amazing thing was that the first Far Cry was actually the first game created on the CryEngine.
Wow.
In other words, it was essentially just a test project, a trial run of a new engine by developers, the capabilities and features of which were still unknown. And yet, this engine was still able to produce a game that set a new graphical standard for shooters for years to come. But
what's that? Hold on. What? No, this is... Oh, okay, I thought this was another game. It's a PlayStation 3 game, but this is Half-Life. So it's not that.
Able to produce a game that set a new graphical standard for shooters for
Battlefield 2?
For years to come. But can we see something similar when it comes to modern engines? Unreal Engine has been around for many years. A lot of projects have been made on it, but developers still can't master it. Even 5
Is that crazy? Was that 36? Look at all these games. Holy shit. Maybe Hell Is Us is doing a great job.
A lot of projects have been made on it, but
43. That's crazy. Ryzen 5, RTX 4060. And this is 1080p. It's not even like this is a good PC. Yeah, and then you have Hawk Raiders, which is looking even better than this one. Still using Unreal Engine 5, looking mighty good and optimized to shit.
Developers still can't master it. Even 5 years after the release of this engine, we still get unoptimized games that don't work well even on top-of-the-line PCs. Have developers really not learned how to create games on Unreal Engine 5 after all these years? Or is this a problem with all the modern engines and technologies? Why has the
Black Flag? Hold on. Hey, you have Black Flag on the left, and then you have Shadows on the right? What?
Technical state of games deteriorated, and why are we not?
Is there even a change beside Black Flag looking, I don't know, kind of better?
Not seeing any graphical revolutions? And most importantly,
We don't need it.
why were developers able to do 15 years ago what modern developers are unable to do?
Dr. Freeman, I presume.
On November 19th, 2004, when Half-Life 2 was released on Steam, the server simply couldn't handle it. Hundreds of thousands of people tried to activate their copies at the same time. For Valve, this was not just a game release, but a test of an entire technical chain, which ended with the sale of the game through digital distribution and began with the creation of their own game engine. Source Engine looked like something from the future at the time. For the first time, physics...
Oh, it looked so good. I couldn't run Half-Life 2. Not at max.
Lighting and animation worked not as separate systems, but as a single process. The well-known Havoc physics was not called by the engine. It was sewn into the render, so objects reacted not according to the script, but rather according to the real mass and momentum. That is why the physics in the game, for which Havoc was responsible, felt so progressive, smooth, and realistic.
And a lot of games nowadays use Havoc engine to this day.
Dynamic light affected dust particles, and the sky in Half-Life 2 was rendered as a separate layer that took into account atmospheric absorption. A small detail, but it did mark the beginning of the era of realistic global illumination. And at the same time, the game ran smoothly on video cards that today would not even run Steam. Source was so flexible that Valve ended up using it for another 15 years. They used it to build Portal, Left 4 Dead, CSGO, and even Half-Life 3.
Hey, the rumors are it's coming. Will it? Who the fuck knows? Those rumors have been going for years.
The engine survived an entire era, simply because its architecture was originally designed for scaling and technical development of video games, not just marketing. A few years after the release of Half-Life 2, Crytek tried to repeat the explosive effect they got from the first Far Cry. At that time, the team developed their own engine just for demonstration purposes. CryEngine 1 was supposed to show that an open environment could look like a rendered level, but the result exceeded the goal. People bought the game not just for the plot or gameplay, but to test whether their PC could handle it, and because of the bright screenshots of a tropical island on the back of the disc box.
Yeah.
After that, Crytek completely rewrote the engine, and in 2007, Crysis was released on Cry.
Oh, we need to replay that game. Crysis, so good.
Engine 2. This engine was the first to combine an automatic LOD system with streaming objects and textures, which allowed the engine to switch detail levels on its own without scripts. In simple terms, the same object in the game had several versions. A high polygon version for close distances, and a simplified version for far distances. In Crysis, this process worked automatically for the first time.
You know what? I don't think this matters. When you're far away.
The game had several versions. A high polygon version for close distances, and a simple...
Because, I mean, it does, like, okay, it matters a little bit, but not too much. Like, how are you even going to zoom in? Like, you playing a game, you can't even zoom in. So I don't think this matters. Like, if you look at Crimson Desert, it doesn't really matter if the high graphics per se. Well, you know what? When I think about it, it kind of matters. But you don't have to have really great graphics. But somewhat in between this and really good ones. That's maybe a perfect spot. This nowadays maybe doesn't work that well. But I mean, things in the distance don't really need to be that good.
Version for far distances. In Crysis, this process worked automatically for the first time. The engine calculated the distance to each object in the frame and replaced it with a model of the appropriate complexity in real time. This meant that the player could see...
Okay, here we are. Here we see a better look at it. Okay, it doesn't matter. Like from here. That in the distance, this low graphics. Not that much. They really don't need to be that good. This is just a still, of course.
Tens of thousands of objects, trees, rocks, buildings, while maintaining a stable FPS. And yes, if it were...
There was nothing stable about this game. No PC could run this.
For this system, Crysis would not have run on any of the top PCs of the time. As graphically advanced as this game was for its time, CryEngine made it possible. At the same time, it had dynamic texture streaming, which freed up memory in real time as the player moved around the map. For 2007, this was unthinkable. So Crytek essentially implemented manual load management, which allowed the game to remain playable. Well, almost.
Water in this game also looks phenomenal.
Meanwhile, Rockstar was working to prove the opposite, that an open world could be compact and stable rather than cumbersome. The renderware engine used in GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas was an invisible revolution. In it, the city was divided into hundreds of 64 by 64 meter sectors, and the engine only loaded...
This game... I mean, these games were so easy to mod. I remember I've made my own mods in these. Yeah, you put them into Paint and just do your thing. It was freaking awesome.
Those that were in the camera's field of view. That's why the player could drive through the entire city without a loading screen on 32 megabytes of RAM. For the PS2, it was almost magic. The same principle was adopted by Ubisoft and Bethesda, and it was with renderware that the era of the seamless world began. By the way, this engine was super...
There's nothing seamless about Bethesda games.
versatile. It worked well on dozens of platforms and several generations. And the games created on it are still a pleasant memory of a warm childhood for most people.
Manhunt? Oh, yeah.
These engines were not better than modern ones in the general sense. They simply worked according to a clear technical task and allowed games not only to function normally, but also to develop both technically and in terms of gameplay. Developers didn't just take the ready-made universal tools of these engines, but adapted them to different tasks and technical challenges, thereby constantly expanding the boundaries of what a video game can show a player. But years go by, and now everything looks a little different in the industry. How did engines created for progress turn into a barrier?
Why didn't they make like another engine? CryEngine 4. Like, they stopped after they went full on Hunt Showdown. I mean, what the hell?
Why do new games, instead of pushing the boundaries, often repeat the same technical mistakes? And most importantly, how did it happen that with more powerful hardware, we get less stable games?
Yes. Like, what the fuck?
Today, it has become much easier for developers to release photorealistic
And then they showed this.
bombs onto the market. And I mean literal bombs, so poorly optimized that your PC explodes. The latest releases have different authors, but a common problem. But you can't just say that Unreal 5 is a bad engine. Rather, it's a system that has grown to such a level of complexity that it's almost impossible to master. Engines used to be created for specific games or types of games, but now when the market is overflowing with studios and projects of varying complexity, something universal is needed. And Epic has turned Unreal into a full-fledged ecosystem. Not just a tool, but
I mean, how is this game gonna run? Witcher 4? How the hell? I hope it's not like... I don't think it will be as bad as Cyberpunk 2077, but Unreal Engine 5, CD Projekt Red, god damn it, make it good and beautiful at launch.
rather an environment in which studios exist without even noticing that they have become a part of it. Unreal
Not only that, but make it optimized.
Engine doesn't just give studios technology, it takes away their very engineering instinct. Everything is too convenient. Modern developers don't need to build an LOD system because there's nanite. They don't need to work with lighting because there's lumen. They don't need to think about how to reduce the load because the engine will do everything itself, but it only does that in theory. In practice, everything breaks. The main technical reasons are real-time shader compilation, so-called traversal stutters, unoptimized new systems, and, most importantly, an architecture that still carries code from Unreal Engine 2. Even today...
No. What? The coding is that far behind? So, I mean, maybe that's the problem? One of the
performs
problems.
some simulations on a single processor core. Epic CEO Tim Sweeney publicly acknowledged this problem, saying, "Many studios build games for top-of-the-line PCs and put off optimization for weaker ones until later." But
Exactly. What the fuck? That's what I'm saying. Optimization? Nah, comes last. Stupid.
he didn't mention the main thing. Epic itself created a culture where later became part of the design. When the engine grows faster than the industry can master it, the result is that everyone gets used to technical chaos.
Ooh. Ooh, that is too true. Oh, god damn. This thing, exactly this, we need to change it. Back when I was a kid, we had to wait for months until we could get a patch. Like patch 1.1, yeah, wait 6 months after the game comes out. And if you want to download the patch, yeah, you had to wait for a week. Because the internet was so goddamn slow. And here we have today, yeah, let's just optimize it after release. It's so stupid. And then people say, no, and then we'll fix it. Stupid as newborn gamers, come on. Stop it.
And this chaos is profitable. Every game on Unreal is another project tied to the Epic ecosystem. Studios receive grants, integrate Epic online services, I don't know, pay tribute to Epic Games, and ultimately become dependent on the chain built by one corporation. That's why in 2025, we see a new type of developer. Not an engineer, but simply a user of the engine. A person who doesn't create technology or even adapt it to their needs, but simply presses the Enable Nanite button. And when the game doesn't work well, developers don't look for a solution, but wait for a patch from Epic. But in my opinion, it's not just Unreal Engine that has degraded. I would also like to mention the former king of indie games, Unity. I don't know, maybe 10 years ago?
I remember that was a good engine, and now it's just expensive shit.
Every other person launched this engine with the desire to create their own indie game. Unity has always been the opposite of Unreal. Simple, open, with a low barrier to entry. Dozens of cult indie games were born on it. It was an engine for those who didn't have money, but had ideas.
Did they ever change the subscription thing? Because I remember there was a big case online about Unity being so expensive that fucking indie developers couldn't create games because it was too expensive.
This was its strength. But over the years, everything changed. After going public, the company began to think not about technology, but about profit. And that's normal. I don't see anything wrong with that, but the way they did it was fatal. In 2023, when Unity announced a per install fee, developers had to pay for each installation, even for free games. For indie developers, this was a disaster. The reaction was immediate. Hundreds of studios openly declared that they were switching to other engines. It was the moment when, for the first time in many
Even for free games? What the fuck?
years, the industry realized that an engine is not just software, but a tool of control. Unity has long since canceled its rule that you have to pay for each installation, but everyone
Oh, that's good. Okay. So that answers my question.
is already indifferent to this engine anyway. After all, Unity and Unreal are not competitors. They are two different manifestations of the same problem. We can see how this universality and monopoly negatively affect
Holy shit, is that Borderlands 4? It runs like shit.
the entire gaming industry. But now we can see that there is another way, one that developers used 10 to 15 years ago. DICE stayed with Frostbite, and Battlefield 6 showed that a proprietary engine tailored to a specific goal can produce beautiful graphics with large-scale destruction of the entire map while delivering incredible optimization. The game literally runs at 60 FPS on a 10-year-old graphics card.
It does? Holy shit, EA?
One of the most beautiful games in terms of graphics this year was also created on the studio's internal engine. What Kojima did in DS2 with his Decima engine is literally impossible to do on Unreal. Super fast loading, stability, and graphics that are truly next gen. Decima is an example of good old-fashioned, highly specialized engineering without attempts to adapt the engine to all possible scenarios. And in fact, I want to believe that in the future, developers and studios will return to their own engines more often, creating them for their own needs. I understand that this may be more difficult, but this complexity and
Wow, that's a long time ago. Holy shit. Making games way back when, huh?
painstaking work always translates into success.
Holy shit, good video. Yeah, this thing, I gotta say, goddamn, radical cap, everybody. Subscribe, without a doubt. This is a freaking beautiful thing. I gotta say, though, they need to optimize the games. All developers need to optimize the games. Because releasing games for Unreal Engine 5, ooh, it's flashy, it's good. Dune. No, that's not what we want. We don't want that shit. I don't care. It doesn't need to be flashy. Make it optimized, make good content, make a good gameplay loop, and let's go. Look, fucking this shit that we're going through it with almost every new game release, especially on Unreal Engine 5. Holy damn. I mean, it's not the only engine, but a lot of people are using it. And it just, like he says, the gaming culture, when it comes to new game releases, is not good. Release a game, and then we can optimize it later. No, not anymore. Change it. And according to the video I showed you at the beginning, default values they need to change that shit. Developers, you need to do something about them. You can't just leave them there, make your game, and just don't do shit about them. Change them. Fucking default value shit. Come on!